Alright guys, welcome to Flav Oriana's MMA show. I'm your host Flav Oriana, brought to you by Four Corner Sports. Man, UFC St. Louis is officially in the books. It was headlined by Derrick Lewis versus Rodrigo Nacimento. Co-main event, St. Louis' own Joaquin Buckley. He was facing Nursultan Ruzabayev, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. And yeah, you had a couple of St. Louis natives that were fighting on the card, like Charles Johnson, Sean Woodson, and I'm not gonna cover everything, but we'll start it off from the main event. Main event: Derrick Lewis versus Rodrigo Nacimento. I don't know how many times Derrick Lewis has headlined a card. I know he's headlined the Daniel Cormier card at MSG on that pay-per-view, and he's headlined a decent amount of Apex cards. He could always put he did headline for the interim title. What was it, Cyril Gane versus Derrick Lewis in Houston? But yeah, Derrick Lewis, I mean, you could just slot him into a main event spot and you're good. People know who he is. Everybody knows his famous line, my balls was hot. That's when he took off his shorts after he knocked out Alexander Volkov on the, I believe that was the Conor Habib card, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, no, that was that's ever since then, catapulted himself into, stardom for the most part, where, casual fans know who he is, and the guy is a character. And I know you want to be here. So yeah, he ended up fighting Rodrigo Nacimento, who was on I believe on a 3-fight win streak, if I'm not mistaken. And gotta say, coming in, usually with Derrick Lewis, and this is what I do on a betting line type of a thing. If it's Derrick Lewis, you might as well just parlay him up money line, and then because on DraftKings you could do the same game parlay, money line, and the knockout knockout tab. And that's how this guy always wins. And what do you know, it happened this time around too. Because the first round, I wasn't expecting for him to be Greco-Roman Derrick Lewis. Clenching, throwing knees, and trying to why is your ear like that? And him, being in him just try to fight Rodrigo Nacimento's game plan. And then we saw a little of that more in round 2. I believe was Derrick Lewis got taken down. I know he took down Rodrigo Nacimento in round 1. I think he got taken down in round 2. They just ended up hugging each other out on the floor for the remaining part of round 2. In round 3, his coach, Derrick Lewis' coach, ended up telling him, like, look, man, you just got to knock this dude out. This is what you're best at. This is what you're good at. Next, what do you think happens? Bam. Immediately from the gate, he starts throwing haymakers because he was landing a good amount of punches, and breaking the guard of Nacimento. But he landed one clean punch on the side of the head. All you just see is like the equilibrium of Rodrigo Nacimento, collapse. His legs give out, falls to the floor, and then Derrick Lewis just goes into ground and pound. Immediately starts wailing in. He had to be like a good 10 punches and stuff like that. And I don't know what Jason Herzog was looking at, because I felt like Nacimento ate like a good 5 clean punches that he didn't need to absorb. And Derrick Lewis hits like a truck as it is. So, and there you go. Round 3 KO. Anybody had that prop, type it in the comment section below. I honestly really thought it was going to go under the 1.5. But then again, you never know. There's always that line that, heavyweights usually end up doing the over when it comes to over-unders on rounds. And this time it went over. But yeah, Derrick Lewis, gets the victory. He bounces back after losing to Jailton Almeida. What's next for him? Honestly, it doesn't really matter, because Derrick Lewis is one of those guys that he doesn't need a title to be relevant. The man can just go out there and knock somebody out, take off his shorts. He ended up taking off his shorts and waving, like fanning Rodrigo Nacimento as he's knocked out cold. And then after that, he takes out his cup. He throws it at a media member. Media member catches it. Later on in the press conference, he actually smells it and says it doesn't smell bad, which is really disgusting. And has Dana White and Derrick Lewis sign the cup. That is going to be a novelty item many years down the line. But yeah, it doesn't really matter what happens with Derrick Lewis. Derrick Lewis is above rankings, above titles and stuff like that. You could just put him out there and him fight, some prospect, whatever, and he's going to be over. Doesn't matter who he fights. I know many people are wanting him to fight Jairzinho Rozenstruik. To be honest, they have that fight in their back pocket. Will that be the next fight? I highly doubt it. I could see them going Waldo Cortez Acosta because of the stinker that he ended up doing against Robelis Despain. I know he ruined the UFC's plans by just, I understand it's wrestling, but there's also another form of just making fights boring. And it was in the similar, stratosphere of when Bilal Muhammad fights and he starts wrestling, where you're not doing anything to appease the crowd. And I understand you're just trying to win, and that should be the ultimate motive. But there were fans booing and stuff like that, so it wasn't a really good look. But for Rodrigo Nacimento, I mean, back of the line he goes, and he's just gonna have to start from square one. Co-main event: Joaquin Buckley versus Nursultan Ruzabayev. And Joaquin Buckley begged to be on this card. Originally, he wanted to be the main event. That got denied. He had made his call out originally on the Atlantic City card after he ended up beating Vicente Luque, and ironically, he was also the co-main event of that as well. He didn't receive any damage. That's why he was able to do that quick turnaround. And UFC 300, he was the last person to ask a question to Dana. He asked Dana if, hey, can I be the main event? Derrick Lewis doesn't want to be the main event for UFC St. Louis. Dana dismisses him, says that, we're good. Announces a week later that Joaquin Buckley ends up on the co-main event and gets Nursultan Ruzabayev. And honestly, very questionable booking. I was like, can this guy even make welterweight? Weirdly enough, like, this guy fought at lightweight at one point in his career, so it's like, whoa, this guy's huge, 6'5", and he fought at lightweight. He's a middleweight, but man, I felt like even though he had made weight successfully the night before, that man does not need to be a welterweight. That man looks heavily depleted. Joaquin Buckley just ragdolled him all over. He should have gotten a TKO finish. The crowd was loving it. They were loving the fact that he was taking him down, beating him up. And I don't know why I think it was Keith Peterson, why he didn't stop the action in round 3, because it was so much ground and pound, and the fight should have been over at definitely inside the 3rd round, but it ends up going to a decision. Buckley wins, but then here's the stinker. He ends up fumbling everything that he worked so hard for in the post-fight interview. The man did everything well. He's talking about his grandmother, how she has ALS, and that that she always finds a way to smile and look at the more positive things in life. But then this is where you start messing up, and you start messing up by saying that you want to have a fight against Conor McGregor. Listen, buddy, you're not going to fight Conor McGregor. You're not fighting him because, 1, Dana even said that there's 0 chance of that happening. 2, you are not even in the radar of Conor McGregor for him to even be looking at. 3, you had 2 wins in the co-main event slot. You never even main evented anything as of yet. All right, and then 4, I don't even think you've been on any type of pay-per-view main card to begin with, for you to even have that type of gravitas to be calling out somebody like Conor. Now, Conor gave this guy no replies whatsoever. Didn't even acknowledge his existence. I think he ends up going into the in the press conference, post-fight press conference, saying that he recants his call out. He wants to fight somebody like Gilbert Burns or something like that. I think you blew it. Me personally, I see that you're gonna most likely end up fighting somebody like a Neil Magny, where if you would have called out Jack Della, right, good chance you would have fought him in Perth, but you didn't do that, and now you're gonna be fighting somebody like a Neil Magny who could still be very dangerous, but there is very little reward by fighting him since you're already ranked as it is. Usually, you're trying to fight him when you're trying to enter the rankings. All right. And then we had Alex Caceres versus Sean Woodson. One judge gave Sean Woodson all 3 rounds. I saw it 29-28. I know there's a lot of debate whether or not Alex Caceres should have won. I had it rounds, rounds 1 and 2 Woodson, and round 3 Caceres. All right. We had the return of Tisha Torres, who is now Tisha Pennington. She fought Tabitha Ricci. Tabitha Ricci ended up winning 2 rounds to 1. Veronica Hardy ended up opening up the card. She ended up fighting JJ Aldridge, which was a pretty good fight for women's MMA. We may have seen the knockout of the year. Well, not knockout of the year. I would say like definitely top 5 when Esteban, maybe his name is Reavers, I forgot. He ended up knocking out Terrence McKinney, all right, inside like 40 seconds or something like that. Where, like I tell you, Terrence McKinney is a get or get type of guy. The man will go out there and just, go 120 miles per hour inside the octagon. So he's either going to knock you out, submit you, or you're going to get knocked out or submitted. Or you're going to knock him out and you submit him. And, man, when Esteban ended up throwing that high kick, I didn't even think that, McKinney was anticipating that type of stuff. Because he threw it, I don't know if he broke his nose or shattered his nose. Blood was gushing out of his nose, knocked him out. He was sitting up, he was out cold. It looked like McKinney was talking to himself. He was out of it. One of the most beautiful head kicks that I've seen in quite some time. And surprisingly, that did not get a performance bonus. Carlos Ulberg versus Alonzo Menefield did get a performance bonus. That was a 12-second knockout. Menefield ended up just bull rushing Ulberg, which was a terrible game plan. Because Ulberg ended up just backing up, throwing a hook, throwing a combination, and then knocking him out with a left hook, putting him out. And Carlos Ulberg is still, undefeated after that loss that he ended up having against Kennedy Nzechukwu, which was about almost 3 years ago. And I know I'm missing a couple. Charles Johnson ended up getting a good victory over over Jake Hadley. Who else am I missing? Oh, Billy Ray Goff versus you had Billy Ray Goff versus Trey Waters. That was a good fight. Man, there was a illegal knee that was thrown inside, I think, the first or second round. Referee did not even stop it whatsoever to see if Billy Ray Goff was fine. In fact, the fight just continued like as if nothing happened. Overall, the right man won. Although I just felt like you should have deducted a point on Trey Waters for throwing an illegal knee. And I already talked about WBCA versus Robelas of Spain. But yeah, now we are going next week back to the Apex. Dana White has mentioned that they are trying to get away from the Apex because they just want to get out from there, and I'm pretty sure they're going to get a whole bunch of on-site fees from different cities that are going to want the UFC to be hosting in their city, because I know it brings a whole lot of it generates a whole lot of revenue for each city and stuff like that. But yeah, next week it is Barboza versus Lerone Murphy. I love the matchup. The card isn't that great. There's a couple of fights that I actually have circled, like Adrian Yanez versus Vinicius Salvador. Want to see how he bounces back after a loss. I gotta see who else. I know Angela Hill's fighting on that card. Who she's fighting? Man, that is a tough question. Hold on, I gotta go. My man Big Marcel is always posting out good graphics to tell you who's fighting next. No. Oh, Chaos Williams versus Carlson Harris. That is a very good fight. We haven't seen Chaos Williams in quite some time. Luana Pinheiro versus Angela Hill. So that will be opening up the main card. What's it called? Ibis Magomedov versus Warley Alves. So that's another fight that I have circled. And then another fight that many fans will be interested in seeing is curtain jerker Emily Ducote versus Vanessa Demopoulos. I feel like if Ducote doesn't get this done, I think that I'm pretty sure the UFC are going to cut ties. But until then, guys, I am Flav Oriana, and thank you for tuning in to the Flav Oriana MMA show. I'm going to be out of here, and this guy got to go out for a walk. So then, guys, I'll see you guys later, and peace. See ya.